Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Boys and girls, I want to talk a little bit about Hard Knocks. The 5 episodes are in the books. I want to give you my top 5 moments from the series. If you guys haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it because there's a lot of stuff that I'm not even going to be able to cover in this video that I think is definitely worth your time. So definitely seek it out. But I want to get into my top 5 takeaways. Before watching this, I'd like to hear you guys comment down below what were your top 5 moments of Hard Knocks, and then we can kind of have that conversation going in the chat there. First up on my list, number 5, it's the coaching. And it's kind of weird to say, I guess, but overall, I really enjoyed the coaching staff. One, Robert Saleh, for the last few years, I've felt, I don't know if enthusiastic is not the right word, but I've felt happy, I've felt good, I've felt prideful that Robert Saleh was our head coach, mainly because we don't have someone that's just embarrassing us left and right. Like for Todd Bowles, it always felt like we underperformed. And then with Adam Gase, like we definitely underperformed, or at least didn't have the talent to perform, whatever. But like was always kind of embarrassed of our head coach. And then even like the tail end last few years of Rex Ryan were kind of like a little rough too, because there was the weird infighting of like Idzik and stuff. But it feels like we actually have adults in the room. And I'm going to extend this out to Joe Douglas as well, because I'm super happy with him as a GM. But overall, I really liked what we got out of Robert Saleh, the motivational speaking. I guess I didn't realize like how much the players love him. Like I've always heard he's a player's coach, and you see the interactions on the sidelines and everything, but just seeing that extra level of camaraderie that he has with the guys was really special. And I think more than any other person, I shouldn't say more than any other person. Let me round out the coaching staff first. Ulbrich, really liked Ulbrich. He's one of the coaching staff guys that I didn't get to see a whole lot of from like a personality standpoint. And seeing him interact with the defensive line and like just how like much fun they had throughout all their different little, I don't know, storylines or things that kind of came up throughout the season, and him realizing like, yo, I got a really special defense. I've been doing this for 20 years. This is going to be special. And some of that is propaganda and a little bit of like fluff and whatnot. But I think most Jet fans can honestly sit here and say, this is one of the best damn rosters I've ever seen. I think it's probably the most talented that I've ever seen as a Jet fan. That's going back to, I'm 33. So however many years that is. But more than anyone else, this guy got such a bad rap from being a head coach last year, and that's Nathaniel Hackett. If there was one coach during this entire series of Hard Knocks that just shined like a bright diamond in the sky, it was absolutely Nathaniel Hackett. The way the players interact with him, like you heard when we signed him, like, oh, Aaron Rodgers loves Nathaniel Hackett. The players love playing for Nathaniel Hackett. We saw Jamal Williams, the running back from Green Bay, who's now in New Orleans, loves Nathaniel Hackett. Oh, Hacky Sack, that's my guy. And you just sort of like take their word for it, but now actually seeing that peek behind the curtain of what Nathaniel Hackett's all about, and even just going to training camp. I went to like almost every single training camp day that the public could go to, and Hackett's walking around the field every single day in pregame warmups, and we're like shouting stuff out like, screw Sean Payton. He's like throwing up a fist. Like Hackett is so much more animated than Mike LaFleur was. And I totally understand where you could have 2 different types of personalities and whatnot, but introverted up in the booth versus like in your face, like let's figure this out and like just palling around with guys. I will take Nathaniel Hackett all day as our offensive coordinator. And I know, look, some guys are not geared to be a head coach, but I could give 2 shits what happened in Denver because I really like Nathaniel Hackett. I love that he calls it the gold zone instead of the red zone. Red zone indicates bad. Gold zone indicates great. Like I love seeing that. I really like the dynamic that he had with the rest of the players. And even going back to this last episode, episode 5, you see Hackett go out to the Broadway show, the Michael Jackson Broadway show with the rest of the players. And they clearly love being around the guy. You hear Uzama dyeing his hair green, and he's like, I can't wait to show Hackett. Hackett's going to love this. The interactions between Hackett and Quinnen and Hackett and Rodgers and like Hackett and Brees, literally, Hackett's one of my favorite personalities on this entire team right now. And it's such a weird thing to think because it's not something that I, generally hang my hat on as a fan, but like genuinely enjoyed what we got out of the coaching staff overall. I thought Robert Saleh's offensive line rip apart in, what was that, episode 2 or 3 with the Carolina joint practices, laid into the offensive line. Like, you got to fucking show up. And it was just, it feels good because you always think like, oh, are they just kind of fluffing these guys up behind the scenes? Like, no, they're like legitimately giving them the hard conversations. They're like, yo, you guys are not pulling your weight. Aaron Rodgers getting pissed off at the offensive line. We're causing false starts, all this stuff. The focus that this coaching staff was able to kind of drive home with these players, I thought was really, really cool to see on Hard Knocks. Number 4, this is going to be Rodgers versus Jihad Ward. Not a whole lot to it, but I just really enjoyed the whole dynamic. I remember when I'm doing I do my every throw for Aaron Rodgers every single week. It's going to come out throughout the season. And I'm doing my every throw breakdown. And I'm watching the replay. And I was like, man, Rodgers definitely got hit right there, like way late. And he got a little chippy. And then to hear the audio, like, don't poke the bear. I don't even know who the fuck you are. Like, you don't know me? Yeah, bullshit. The way Aaron Rodgers kind of threw that Ward just made me happy. It was like, we don't have players on the Jets ever that are able to like kind of talk smack like Aaron Rodgers has been able to, because he has the accolades. He's done everything. He's won 4 MVPs. So it's nice to kind of see that. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you, Randall Cobb, that was not a very nice hit. That is a 100% illegal hit. And as much as like back in the day it would have been fine, like it's a preseason game, dude. Like, let's not hurt people. And I get where the Giants fans are going to be salty about this, but like, I'm Team Jets and Team Rodgers all the way. Keep your head on a swivel. This is cool. I can't wait to see how this builds up towards the regular season game. You got to think the Jets are going to try and throw a few different things the Giants' direction. I do like that the Giants, I shouldn't say I don't like that they did not play any of their starters, because it would have been nice to go up against like actual starters instead of having these backups go against them. And Ward was one of those players that I was afraid of going into this game. Not him specifically, but those second-tier Giants players that are trying to make the roster, trying to make a name for themselves and, you know, maybe put a shot on Aaron Rodgers when they otherwise, you know, wouldn't have, and they'd take the flag because who knows? That could be their last play in an NFL uniform. Now, I don't think it's going to be, but you know what? That was the whole interaction with that game. Because we've been the younger brother to the Giants. The Giants have been the more successful team over the course of these two franchises' history. We used to play in Giants Stadium. Heck, even like right now, it's still the old Giants. Not the old Giants Stadium. It's a new stadium. But either way, it feels like because we are sharing a stadium, we're always the second team in our stadium. We're never the team. And right now, it feels like we could be the team. And Aaron Rodgers, ever since coming in here, has kind of put that fan chip on his shoulder too, and he's wearing it with us, and it feels good to see. And I felt like a little bit of that came out with the Ward stuff here. Number 3, the Brownlee Gibson dynamic, the two guys coming in as undrafted free agents, making the team together, learning just moments after into episode 5 that they both made the team. I thought was really, really cool. You know, I didn't realize just how close they were until they started going through this whole documentary. And I thought it was awesome that Brownlee was the first guy outside the office when Gibson found out that he made the team. Those guys are going to be tight the entire season. I hope we get to see more and more of them, because Brownlee's kind of like everything I wanted Denzel Mims to be, but with like all the good stuff. And then Gibson seems to be like he's kind of fallen under Cobb's wing, and Cobb is going to kind of get this guy up to speed. I think Rodgers is going to start to find Gibson a little bit more as the season sort of wears on here. And it would be great if you could have 2 star-studded, I shouldn't say star-studded, but 2 undrafted free agent wide receivers that could hang around a little bit longer. You're not paying them a whole heck of a lot, and these guys earn it. They didn't. You saw Rodgers sort of allude to that and say, look, these guys didn't get the big signing bonuses. They weren't drafted. They had those disappointment nights on draft night, and they come in here and there's no one working harder than these guys. The quote that I really liked from this episode was, you have a big give a shit factor, or you have a give a shit factor, which is nice because you're always going to try harder. You're going to try and develop your skills further. You're going to try and do that extra rep better than you did the last time. And that attention to detail is noticed by Rodgers. It's noticed by the coaching staff, and it was rewarded because of how Brownlee and Gibson held themselves and worked throughout all of training camp. And we lost a bunch of good players. There were a lot of really good guys on this team, and that the Jets had to cut down. And at least seeing these two guys make it kind of makes me feel good. And I feel pretty comfortable with our wide receiver room. I'm not like dead set on the Jets making a trade for a wide receiver. I think it's, if you get an injury midseason, that's probably where I'm about. But seeing Brownlee and Gibson, I would like to see a little bit more of them in regular season. maybe Gibson's returning kicks for us. Maybe Brownlee gets a nice jump ball here or there. We'll see where it kind of goes, but that was a nice storyline here. Number 2, this one was easy for me. Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, going at it. The old saying, iron sharpens iron. Well, it's definitely true. You watch how these guys compete on every rep, like beating the snot out of each other, and they're always happy, and they're happy to like get their craft better. You see how they interact before, they're slapping hands like, oh, okay, here we go, we got this rep. And then you see them during it, they're just jockeying one another. Sauce is pushing Garrett's like putting Sauce in a blender. And you legitimately could not say who won the matchup over the course of the entire training camp, because Sauce was really good on some plays, and then Garrett just looked phenomenal on other plays. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how their duel in practice kind of translates to live game day going against other players that are more than likely inferior players. You're not going to see too many, I think it was the AP News or whatever, the Associated Press ranked Sauce as the top corner in the league. Like, I think it was 7 or 6 of 10 AP reporters put Sauce as the top guy. Garrett Wilson, you're hearing praise from him all over the league. Guys like Deebo Samuel are saying his favorite player to watch outside of his team is Garrett Wilson because of the way he plays the game, because of how fast he is. You saw Aaron Rodgers talking about, 17 special, talking with Braylon Edwards and Mark Sanchez in one of the episodes. Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, 2 of the foundational pieces on this team that are going to be here a really long time, and their personalities that I think every parent would love their kids to look up to. You look at the dedication they have, the work ethic they have, and they just carry themselves the right way, and they're just good players. They're good people. This whole team feels like it's good people. Like the way Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh constructed this team, building it around captains, building it around like a team identity. You heard it from Connor McGovern. The bad apples are out of the picture. So no more Elijah Moore, no more, whatever else. Forget all the noise outside the building. We got all the right pieces inside the building. And then for me, number 1, it's the Rodgers effect. And this was a very like overarching theme throughout the entirety of the series. And now they said it, you need a star on your series, or you need a star on your team. And it is Aaron Rodgers. His story started in April when we traded for him. And it's just really cool to see how this team has responded to Aaron Rodgers and how Rodgers interacts with the coaching staff, with the players, with the fans. He definitely knows how to work the media. All the things that he learned in his time in Green Bay, you can see it sort of coming out, like the best parts of it. Like, I'm sure he's got some bad things that he's holding on to, but the way he interacted with, Garrett Wilson and explaining, okay, well, you got to cut this way, or the offensive line, he's working the hard count, and all of a sudden one of the offensive linemen jumps off sides and he's just pissed. Like, you hear not Garrett Wilson, Randall Cobb talking about, don't mess up. You don't run the wrong route. Don't make number 8 think that you're unreliable, because he's not going to throw you the ball. He hates throwing interceptions. He wants perfection. And I feel like that attention to detail is what's going to translate for the Jets going up against these top teams in the NFL. You're going against the Eagles. You're going against the Chiefs. You're going against the Bills. There's going to be a lot of really tough teams that you're going to have to go against. And sometimes it's the team, or more often than not, it's the team that doesn't make a mistake more so than it is the team that just, executes their game plan or whatever. You can't make those critical mistakes, whether it's dropping a ball, fumbling a pass, blowing a block. I should really throw in there, I mean, I guess it kind of encompasses this too. Rodgers and the way he talks to the team in terms of have lunch together with different guys, get to know your teammates, and him having that relationship with Mekhi Becton and Zach Wilson. If these guys turn around, if Mekhi Becton can be rookie Mekhi Becton, stay healthy, and then build on that, and we now have a tackle for the foreseeable future, I would love nothing more than to have to pay Mekhi Becton a massive contract at the end of the season, because he proved all his doubters wrong. Jets didn't exercise his 5th-year option, so he's playing in a contract year. I think this is one of the more exciting players that we're going to be able to keep an eye on this season. And then Zach. I almost had this as its own category in and of itself, but I thought the Rodgers effect was so impactful. I mean, across the board. But Zach's relationship with Aaron Rodgers, I thought at the end of last season, Zach was toast. Like, I don't know how it's going to get fixed, but he's toast. And then you bring in his idol in Aaron Rodgers. I get the feeling because of the dynamic that's going on between those two and how Zach just feels like there's this childlike enthusiasm when he watches Rodgers or when he's hanging out with Rodgers or when he's just in the meeting room, like he's palling around. And maybe that's something he did prior, but it feels like a much more loose Zach Wilson. He doesn't have that pressure of the entire city on his shoulders. He knows he's the number 2 pick, but he had to be the savior of this city. And now being able to take a step back, maybe Zach can turn into something down the road. And look, I'm not putting any money on it. I'm not hedging any bets or anything like that, but I'm just saying, look, if there's ever a shot for Zach Wilson to work out here, it's going to be under Aaron Rodgers. And I really think there's a good shot. Like, I don't think the Jets are going to exercise his 5th-year option, but I think there's a good shot Zach would be open to signing a backup contract with some incentives in the event that, either Rodgers retires or gets hurt at some point in the future. I think Zach may want to hang around beyond his rookie contract, even if it means playing backup to Aaron Rodgers, because of what it could mean for the next 10 years beyond that. And it's a very unorthodox style of learning and maybe of a career path in the NFL, because it's not something you see. Rookie quarterbacks have to perform on their rookie deals in order to kind of work out. And I would say the closest maybe comparison in my mind could be Alex Smith and how long it took him to develop and how he wasn't a good quarterback in San Francisco for a long time, and then he became Steady Eddie. Well, Zach, if he can become Steady Eddie, he's got the physical gifts to run 40 yards down the field, to rip a pass 50 yards in the air. Like, this guy's got a strong arm. He's got fast legs. And if he can put it all together, the sky's the limit between him and Mekhi Becton. And then just like listening to Rodgers, it's just the whole attention to detail. You see the coaches enamored with every throw that he makes. The fans are just eating out of the palm of his hands. The way he handles the media, calling out Sean Payton for calling out Nathaniel Hackett, like everything that Rodgers has done, this effect on the team, this effect on the franchise. It's a 2-part piece, because I say it's the Rodgers effect, but it's not fully because of him. It's because of Robert Saleh. It's because of Joe Douglas. It's because of the players they brought in and the culture that they fostered. It's the reason why Aaron Rodgers wanted to come to New York in the first place. It's the talent that we've drafted. It's the culture that we have. And now it's all coming to a head, and you're getting like the best out of Aaron Rodgers. You're getting all the things that people told us we weren't going to see. We weren't going to get a dedicated Aaron Rodgers. He wasn't going to help teach the young guys. Well, that's like totally out the window. He took $35 million less. Talk about putting your money where your mouth is. Literally everything that we have seen from the Jets from April on has been something you could put in a storybook and read to me at bedtime. It would be my nighttime story. I'll have my nice little Jet dreams as I go to sleep. I cannot wait to see what we get out of this team for the duration of this season. Guys, let me know your top 5 takeaways or moments or whatever from Hard Knocks down below in the comments section. And as always, go Jets. J-E-T-S,